Stay tuned and let's take a look at this Marvel Legends Spider-Man 77. Pow, and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And remember now, you can hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Either show some love or join the members club. Much, much appreciated. Today, we are taking a look at this Marvel Legends Spider-Man 77. Now, I believe in the US, this is a Walmart exclusive. However, I'm in the UK, no Walmart. So who is Spider-Man 77? Well, 48 years ago, CBS made a live-action Spider-Man movie called The Amazing Spider-Man that did quite well in the ratings, so they spun it off into its very own TV series that lasted a couple of years, and he was portrayed by Hammond. So for a lot of people, this is their very first introduction to the character of Spider-Man, especially if you were watching TV and not reading comics back in the late 70s. This was at the time where Stan Lee was going around the world licensing the Marvel characters, and Japan also made their very own live-action Spider-Man in the late 70s, which we already have in the Marvel Legends line. So I do appreciate what this figure is a tribute to. I believe before this, Spider-Man was used in like a TV commercial, but technically Hammond's Spider-Man is the first live action Spider-Man. So it's very nice to have a little tribute amongst your Spider-Verse in the collection. But yes, technically this is a live action Marvel Legend. So CBS had some success with the Lou Ferrigno Hulk at the time, but this sort of didn't really appeal to the demographic they were going for, so it didn't last very long. But the film is on YouTube if you want to seek it out. And if you seek it out, you will notice that the effect pieces that come in this box, gimmicky as they are actually very accurate to what was in the TV show. He has a piece of rope, he actually has some really gimmicky thick webs, and he doesn't even have sweeping hands, as he didn't need them in the show, as he just swung on a web very occasionally. But we get the Spider-Man 77 sort of art here on the side, a picture of that live action Hammond Spider-Man on there, and on the back you get a recreation of a Spider-Man poster, and it says inspired by the 1977 Spider-Man movie. Can you believe it? 48 years ago. Let's get it open. Here we have our Spider-Man 77 out of the packaging with his accessories on the table. Now, granted, they are white webs, so it looks like they're not there, but I assure you they are there. I take a closer look in a minute, but let me take all of that out the way. My only small little thing is it would have been really nice to get an actual Hammond head sculpt, as Peter Parker was a big deal in that show, obviously. However, I understand that was probably very difficult, but it would have been a nice touch all the same. Let me get the tape measure out so we can see he is just under 6.5 inches tall, which I think is fine. And let me just straight away bring in the other late 70s live action Spider-Man. So on both sides of the world, there was a live action Spider-Man on your TV screens back in the late 70s, and now we have them both represented in the Marvel Legends line. Now, as I said, I was born in the late 80s, so I definitely never seen any of these shows growing up. My first introduction to Spider-Man was, of course, the 90s animated TV show. As an adult, of course, I've went back and done my research and checked these out, so I appreciate what they represent, and I appreciate his humble beginnings, and these will absolutely go in a Spider-Verse shelf or some type of multiverse shelf, if you will, as a nice little Easter egg and tribute to the Spider-Mans that have come before. But we will do a full comparison with all our live action Spider-Mans very shortly. But first, let's zoom in and check out that head sculpt. My eyes, the goggles do nothing. Now, to be fair, the show was made on a TV budget back in the late 70s. So if you watched it now, it is very dated and the costume is terrible. It was poorly made. So the Marvel Legends looking a little bit wonky is actually an accurate reflection of what you've seen on the show. So I think the Marvel Legends does a pretty solid job of that, as it was just these weird goggles with the lenses. I think the actual Marvel Legend lines are much cleaner than you got on the actual TV show, as they were thick and they were sloppy. So yeah, I'm not mad at this at all. I think this looks absolutely fine. You can see the little hole there at the back of the head to allow you to get his head looking up as well for the range, and of course he can bury the chin. I'm assuming it's a disc and hinge. Yes, it is. And then of course you get your swivel side to side as well. So yeah, I actually think this is a solid head sculpt they represent this particular version of Spider-Man. And apart from the head sculpt, this Spider-Man is just a straight up repaint of the Japanese Spider-Man. So I'll show you in a second, but for those who haven't got that version, here we go. You got the Spider-Man logo on the front. Again, the lines are really clean. The pinless means that you don't have the different color pegs, which makes such a difference. On the back, unfortunately, we do have the peg hole for no reason on the Spider-Man logo. That is the unfortunate thing of reuse. Otherwise, you get the web lines going all the way down to the hands. The bout is a new piece, of course, as that is unique for this Spider-Man. That is a separate plastic piece. If you ride it up, you will see the swivel at the waist there. Another unique piece is this little gauntlet for his web swinger. Now again, he doesn't use them much in the show as it was low budget, and when he did, it was on a little white rope, which we actually get with this figure, which is pretty fun. And then you get the blue legs all the way down to his Spider-Man boots. Again, the lines look pretty clean. Looks like two different versions of red up there, doesn't it? So but otherwise, this is the exact same body, if I zoom out a second and bring them both in, as this Spider-Man. So literally the torsos are the same, just the spider logos are different. Of course, the reds and blues are different, but otherwise the arms are reuse. This Spider-Man obviously has the gauntlet on this hand. He has a bout and gauntlet, but otherwise it is complete reuse. The same sculpt, the same texturing on the body. It is just deco differences with a few different colours of paint as well, which is fine. Again, these were both live action versions of Spider-Man in the late 70s, so I don't mind the reuse for what they are meant to represent. In case you don't have that body and you were curious about the articulation, as you can see, the shoulders go up to 90. There's a bicep swivel, no problem at all, and then a double jointed elbow is pretty good, no problem with that. So the arms are fine. The crunch is like that forward and like that back, so not crazy for a Spider-Man character, but to be fair, the acrobatics in these particular shows were not all that dramatic, so the range is probably not needed for these versions of Spider-Man. You get the swivel there at the waist, like I showed you, the bout covers that. I never showed you, but if you look really closely on the bout, you can actually see the spider design sculpted in there, but it's just really hidden because it's so small. The legs, again, pinless, double jointed knees, no trouble with that at all. Very clean, double jointed knee. You got the swivel at the top for the thigh as well. No boot cut, but you do get ankle pivot and rocker. Legs go that far forward, not a lot back, which is expected, and then he can do about that much of the split. So of course it's a Spider-Man character, and we need our Spider-Man characters to be highly articulated, but trust me, go and watch the show and see the acrobatics this guy can do. It's not impressive. In regards to accessories, out of the box he comes with a set of fisted hands, and remember, just the one gauntlet for the arm, and then our one extra pair of hands are these grabbing, gesturing hands. Remember, the show wasn't really synonymous with the swipping effect just yet, so it makes sense why they're not included, but again, it's still a Spider-Man character. I'm sure people would have appreciated it, but these are the hands that he will hold on to the rope with, because yes, he comes with an actual rope. Now, I believe I said he could hold the rope. Well, call me a liar, because he can't hold the rope. You can put the rope in the hand, but of course the hand isn't a tight enough grip to hold on to this white rope. Now, I don't know the length of this rope, but again, I've got a white background, but I promise you, you just get a white rope, which again is a callback to the actual show, as he occasionally would swing on a rope. Again, low budget TV, people. But yeah, it's nice that they included this, but you're going to have to like maybe tie a knot around the hand if you wanted him to sort of dangle on a display or something like that. So yeah, if you tie a knot like so, then you can get him to swing. If I zoom out, so yeah, then you can get your 70s Spider-Man to swing. So again, I don't mind the inclusion of this. I understand the tribute that it is, but yeah, you're going to have to work your magic. But again, that's a fun little Easter egg on the shelf, isn't it? Who's that guy? And for those curious, the rope is about 12 inches long, so about a foot of really thin rope. But I'm sure you can get rope yourself if you wanted to make an extra long version for a display. He also comes with these two web effects. I say effects, but they're just two really soft pieces of plastic in a web that you can sort of stick to the villains maybe. If you've seen the actual TV show, you know in the actual show, he throws literal thick white net webbing over the bad guys. So this is an accurate tribute to what was actually in the show. Not my favorite Spider-Man accessory. Again, it's just reused from the retro wave, but it does make sense for this version of Spider-Man. So I'm sure people people won't mind the packing. Like I said, get a little bit of blue tack. You can actually stick the webs onto a bad guy, and they do look pretty fun for a display. So yeah, they're not the terrible accessories like people first assume. You just got to use your imagination. Remember, these are toys. Moving into comparisons, here we have our history of live action Spider-Man represented in the Marvel Legends line. So again, 48 years ago, 1977, we have Nicholas Hammond. A few years later, we got the Japanese version of Spider-Man, and then 20 years after that, but even 20 plus years ago for us now, we got Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in 2002. Then we got Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in The Amazing Spider-Man. That was the first time they used the phrase Amazing Spider-Man since that original film. And then of course we've got Tom Holland now. So this is definitely some type of multiversal Secret Wars setup we have on the table, but it's nice to have these represented in plastic for our display. Let me know in the comments below, who is your favorite live action incarnation of Spider-Man? Of course, we have to do a couple of comic comparisons. So here we have the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man and then the 60th anniversary Spider-Man. And let me swap the Renew Your Vows for the very non-controversial recent Maximum series Spider-Man next to our Spider-Man 77. Now, in the actual show back then, there was no accurate comic villains. They were made up villains like, I don't know, corrupt businessmen and cult leaders. So you never actually seen the 77 Spider-Man go up against any of these iconic villains that we know today, and that's the magic of Marvel Legends. You can now recreate that if you want to. So here we have our 77 Spider-Man next to Venom and Carnage. And without absolutely ruining my display for this review, I just wanted to see him compared next to a suited Marvel Legend, as you're going to want him fighting corrupt businessmen, and you can't think of anyone more corrupt than Norman Osborn. And then I also threw in Tombstone for good measure. And of course it was a low budget show, so you actually spent more time with Peter Parker than you did Spider-Man. So that's why I said it would have been nice to see the inclusion of an unmasked Nicholas Hammond head. However, I understand there's complications with that, but it would have been a fun idea. Here we have Marvel Legends Peter Parker and Mary Jane. And let's take it home with sort of Who crew. We have Frogman and Tigra, and then last but never least, here we have Captain Britain and Hell, Fire, Hank. So, final thoughts on this Marvel Legends Spider-Man 77. Now, if I had to be nitpicky, I'd probably say that this particular Spider-Man body isn't the most articulated for a Spider-Man character, but I don't think that's the intention of this release. This is released for the people that have a fond attachment to a Spider-Man that was represented over 48 years ago. This is a very particular demographic that are going to remember this Spider-Man, whether they were younger and they were watching it or they got introduced to it by their parents a little bit later on. I think it's great that Hasbro even make these things and they exist in the first place so people can add them to their collection. As remember, Marvel Legends collectors come in all different ages, and it's great that everybody can get their favorite version of Spider-Man or their most nostalgic version of Spider-Man in their collection. As you know, I love the 90s animated version. I'm very happy that exists in the Marvel Legends line. So I understand how someone else a little bit older than me feels maybe adding a Spider-Man to their collection that they fondly remember as well. So it's great that we have so many options in the Marvel Legends line. Yes, I could sit here and be critical about the articulation and accessories, but I think it's a fun release for what it represents. You let me know if you're going to get this in the comments below. And as always, if you like Marvel Legends, then wow, you're in the right place. Check out the videos tab, find the playlist, but most importantly, please, 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 hit that subscribe button, hit all in the notification bell, don't miss out on a video, and please hit that join button, become a channel member, either show some love or join the members club. Remember, join the channel, you get to be on the channel, and come and talk some toys with us, people. This hobby is so much more fun when you can enjoy it with like-minded people, I promise you that. Follow me on Instagram at itsdanwho. I'm on X at Dan Who Reviews, and I will of course see you on the next one.